Breaking news tonight, the shootout near the White House. The Secret Service saying they shot an armed individual after he was acting suspiciously. Gunfire as tourists take cover. A child struck. Parts of the National Mall locked down. Reporters at the White House told to rush to safety inside. The gunfire just moments after Vice President Vance's motorcade sped by. Was this connected? Also breaking tonight, Iran launching drones and missiles at U.S. ships, putting the ceasefire in jeopardy. The U.S. knocking those attacks down and sinking Iranian boats in return. Are we on the brink of more war? Shocking video of a United Airlines plane hitting a lamppost that hits a bakery truck. The new images of the collision and of the aftermath. The NTSB now investigating. Why was it flying so low? The deadly cruise ship outbreak, the nightmare scenario at sea as a suspected rare virus spreads. 3 now dead, others with symptoms. We hear from an American trapped on board. Will any country allow them to leave the ship? 2 people killed after a car plows into a crowd in Germany. The driver arrested, pinned to the ground. Was it all intentional? New tonight, it ends with a settlement. Actress Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni settle after their year-long legal battle. Campground mass shooting. Nearly 24 injured after gunfire rings out at a lakeside party in Oklahoma. The manhunt right now for the suspect. The Luigi Mangione effect. Was the suspect accused of setting the devastating Palisades fire inspired by the alleged CEO killer? Dolly Parton's health update, what the Queen of Country is revealing about her condition and why she's canceling even more shows. And there's good news tonight. The military dad pulling off the perfect surprise in disguise. And the hug nearly 1 year in the making. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
And good evening. We begin tonight with the shootout just blocks from the White House, the massive security response, and the questions tonight as to whether an armed individual was targeting officials there. Secret Service officers tracking a man they say was acting suspiciously right outside the White House grounds, shooting him near the Washington Monument. A child was hit in the crossfire. And this was the scene inside the White House grounds. Reporters rushed inside by Secret Service to seek shelter. And then just moments before the shooting, Vice President Vance's motorcade, seen on this video, speeding through that exact same area. The incident triggering a massive response. You see it here, police cars speeding down the street and the National Guard rushing right to the scene. The shooting coming just over a week after a man sprinted, gun in hand, towards the president at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Monica Alba is at the scene of the shooting with the very latest.
Tonight, another security scare just blocks from the White House, and minutes after Vice President Vance's motorcade had passed through.
Battalion 6 respond for the shooting on 15th Street and Madison Drive Northwest.
U.S. Secret Service investigating an officer-involved shooting near the Washington Monument and the National Mall. It began around 3:30 this afternoon.
Our plainclothes officers and agents that consistently patrol the outer perimeter of the White House complex identified a suspicious individual that appeared to have a firearm.
Uniformed Secret Service then confronting the individual.
Upon making contact, that individual fled briefly on foot, withdrew a firearm, and fired in the direction of our agents and officers. They returned fire and engaged. That individual was hit.
A bystander was also hit and injured. This video showing the Vice President's motorcade a short time before. And you can hear what could be the gunfire on our White House camera. As agents with long guns rushed people inside. President Trump speaking in the East Room, making no mention of the incident, which comes just 9 days after a gunman ran through a security checkpoint, allegedly trying to assassinate the president at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The Secret Service on this afternoon's shooting.
Whether or not it was directed to the president or not, I don't know, but we will find out.
Monica joins us live from that scene. And Monica, you mentioned he was shot. The suspect also in custody tonight?
That's right, Tom. Officials were asked if the suspect attacked or approached the vice president's motorcade in any way, and they said no. As for the bystander, who we've learned is a juvenile, they do not have life-threatening injuries. And as for the suspect, we do not yet know their condition, but they remain at a local hospital. Tom?
Monica Alba leading us off tonight. Monica, we thank you for that. Now to the alarming escalation in the Mideast. Iran once again attacking oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. And the U.S. hitting back as that fragile ceasefire could be at a breaking point. Here's Garrett Haig.
Tonight, Iran launching new attacks on commercial oil tankers and its Arab neighbors. The fragile Middle East ceasefire under strain, with Iran also firing drones and missiles and using small boats to attempt to strike U.S. ships in the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM's commander says the projectiles were shot down and boats sunk by American attack helicopters.
We have defeated each and every one of those threats through the clinical application of defensive munitions.
The American naval vessels coming under fire as they attempted to protect commercial ships passing through the strait, part of President Trump's newly announced Project Freedom. Today, CENTCOM saying 2 U.S. flag vessels successfully traveled through the strait.
The United States has assumed the risk for the international community to open the strait.
With President Trump now saying if Iran tries to target U.S. ships, they'll be, quote, blown off the face of the earth. All as the Iranian regime is also targeting the United Arab Emirates. UAE officials condemning what they called, quote, renewed treacherous Iranian aggression, saying its air defenses shot down incoming Iranian drones and missiles. Iran lashing out as President Trump's blockade of its ports has been squeezing the Iranian economy.
Can't let them have a nuclear weapon where you'd have problems like nobody would believe. And it's going very well.
But President Trump is also facing political and economic pressure, with polling consistently showing a majority of Americans oppose the war, and the conflict driving gas prices up more than 30 cents a gallon in the last week to a national average of $4.46. The president insisting that surge is temporary and that prices will plummet once Iran can no longer block oil tankers from using the strait.
There's a lot of energy out there of ships all over the world that are loaded up with it. They can't do much with it because they got kidnapped by a pretty evil place, but we're taking care of it.
And Garrett joins us now live. Garrett, this looks and sounds like combat, but President Trump is saying that the ceasefire is still holding?
That's the case for now, Tom. The president has, in interviews and posts, been downplaying the impact of these Iranian attacks today, saying that there was no damage going through the strait. He did not declare this a violation of the ceasefire, while Iran's foreign minister says the U.S. and UAE should be, quote, wary of being dragged back into a quagmire. Tom?
All right, Garrett, we thank you for that. We have new videos we want to show you tonight showing multiple angles as a United flight comes in too low, hitting a lamppost which slams into a delivery truck. Stephanie Gosk with those new images and the investigation from the NTSB.
Tonight, dramatic dashcam video showing the moment United Flight 169 from Venice comes in too low, clipping a light pole seconds before landing at Newark International Airport. This unsuspecting driver was on the New Jersey Turnpike Sunday making a bakery delivery. You can hear the plane approaching and then the glass shattering. This freeze frame appears to show the wheels of the plane out the driver's window. New Jersey State Police say a landing tire and the underside of the plane collided with the pole, which then hit the truck. The NTSB is trying to determine if the plane hit the truck as well.
Holy oh my goodness.
Patrick Oyulu took this video showing the plane just after impact.
Did you see all that wind? Oh my goodness.
Are you thinking today that you were a bit lucky?
Whoever I speak to, I just say I thank God that I'm alive today.
Winds were gusting nearly 40 miles an hour.
The pilots had control of the airplane. It was just that with the gust, they let it get a little bit low.
Remarkably, the driver was taken to the hospital with only minor injuries, according to police. United Airlines says the plane landed safely and no one was injured, adding it will conduct a rigorous flight safety investigation into the incident, and the crew has been removed from service as part of the process. Tonight, the truck driver's employer calling the incident a miracle.
Stephanie joins us now live. Stephanie, let's pick it up there. The NTSB is already on the ground at Newark.
Yeah, Tom, they arrived today, and the NTSB is asking United Airlines for both the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. Those will be critical in the investigation. A preliminary report is expected out in about a month, Tom.
Incredible video there, Stephanie. Okay, thank you. Tonight, almost 150 people are stranded at sea, including 17 Americans, because of a suspected deadly outbreak on their cruise ship. And now we're hearing from those on board. Here's Camila Bernal.
Tonight, a desperate plea from passengers trapped on board a cruise ship.
What's happening right now is very real for all of us here.
Where a suspected hantavirus outbreak has left 3 people dead and another in intensive care. The ship, now docked off the coast of Africa, has 149 people on board, including at least 3 others who the ship's operator says require medical care. For now, nobody is being allowed off the boat.
We're not just headlines. We're people. People with families, with lives, with people waiting for us at home.
Hantavirus is usually spread by rodents. It's the same disease that killed Betsy Arakawa, the wife of late actor Gene Hackman.
There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part.
It's unclear if the passengers on this ship were infected on board or before getting on. And while rare, there is a variant that is transmitted human to human. It's typically found in South America, which is where this cruise ship originated 3 weeks ago.
In the very rare case of human-to-human transmission, it does require direct contact with human bodily fluids.
As the ship's operator figures out next steps, everyone on board is stuck waiting and hoping the virus is contained.
All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home.
And right now, the ship says it's working closely with health officials and local authorities. The World Health Organization says that it's doing testing and sequencing of the virus to figure out what strain the infected passengers have. That will likely help them figure out next steps. Tom?
Okay, Camila, thank you. We're also tracking a manhunt in Oklahoma after a mass shooting at a campground left dozens injured. Ryan Chandler is in Edmond, Oklahoma tonight for us. And Ryan, this happened at a party on the campground?
Well, Tom, that's right. And it's an urgent search still ongoing tonight for who opened fire on a large crowd here as that party here at this campground turned into a tragedy. Officials tell us a large group of young people was gathering here last night when those gunshots rang out, leaving 23 people injured at this lakeside. Campers here tell us they saw partygoers fleeing, and some of them returned today. I spoke with one group of witnesses, just 18 and 19 years old, recounting that chaos. They told us some of their friends were seriously hurt. One young man even told me, Tom, he ran into the lake to escape the shots. And as they pull for their friends tonight, police are still working to find who may be behind this attack. Tom.
Ryan Chandler for us. Ryan, thank you. Now to the sudden collapse of low-cost carrier Spirit Airlines, which abruptly stopped flying over the weekend, leaving tens of thousands of passengers stranded and so many employees without a job. Here's Tom Costello.
Grounded and never to fly again as Spirit Airlines, the carrier's planes are tonight parked at airfields nationwide. Tens of thousands of customers stuck.
I have a family of 6. It's a couple $1,000 just to get home now because they decide not to fly us home.
After Spirit's creditors rejected a government bailout, the airline's chief financial officer wrote in a court filing today, there are no longer any viable paths to a restructuring or continued operations. Today, Trump DOT Secretary Sean Duffy blamed President Biden for blocking a proposed merger with JetBlue in 2024.
That merger would have been better for customers, and he still said no to it.
But Biden's DOT Secretary Pete Buttigieg said the war and higher fuel prices were to blame. Spirit's biggest hubs included Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Las Vegas, Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Houston. In Atlantic City, Spirit made up 75% of air service, leaving customers searching for options. 17,000 employees now out of work, many emotional, in front of company headquarters today.
I get on the phone with some of my family and friends at Spirit, and, we just start crying.
Tonight, many airlines are offering temporary lower fares to stranded Spirit customers. But with fuel prices soaring, summer vacation budgets are under threat. Domestic airfares already up 18% over last year, international up 7.5%, with expectations they will continue climbing as the war drags on. Tom?
And now less competition. All right, Tom, we thank you for that. It was the legal drama that captured the attention of Hollywood for more than a year. Tonight, the battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni suddenly ended with a settlement. Laura Jarrett is here now live with us. Laura, this was one of the ugliest fights in Hollywood. What do we know?
Tom, it had been ugly since the very beginning, but now, just 2 weeks before the start of this trial was set to begin tonight, Blake Lively has in fact settled her legal claims against her former co-star Justin Baldoni. Now, Lively had accused Baldoni and his production company of waging a smear campaign against her after she complained of sexual harassment on the set of their film, It Ends With Us. He had denied those accusations, and last month the judge tossed out the bulk of her claims. In a joint statement tonight, attorneys for the actress said, in part, we recognize concerns raised by Ms. Lively deserve to be heard. We remain firmly committed to workplaces free of improprieties. The terms of the settlement here, Tom, were not disclosed.
And that's the big question. All right, Laura, we thank you for that. When we return in 60 seconds, it was one of the worst wildfires out west. Was the man accused of setting the Palisades fire inspired by Luigi Mangione? That's next. We're back now with new and disturbing details behind the deadly Palisades wildfire. Prosecutors now revealing the suspect may have been inspired by Luigi Mangione. Here's Steve Patterson.
Tonight, new insight into the man accused of sparking last year's deadly Palisades fire. An inferno that reduced neighborhoods to ash and left 12 dead. Court documents revealing the accused arsonist, 30-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, was fixated on Luigi Mangione.
Luigi, how you feeling?
The man charged with the high-profile murder of a healthcare CEO in 2024. According to federal filings, Rinderknecht's search history included Free Luigi Mangione and Let's Kill All the Billionaires. Prosecutors say the suspect, an Uber driver, was upset over a failed relationship on New Year's Eve when he ignited the fire. Passengers from that night described him driving erratically, ranting about Mangione, later telling investigators the violence. That's what happened with that CEO recently. That's what happens when people get desperate. Rinderknecht's attorney maintaining his client is innocent, telling the Associated Press the alleged motive is a misguided theory. But it's a pattern officials are seeing elsewhere. Just last month, 29-year-old Shamel Abdul Karim was charged with torching a massive California warehouse. Authorities say he also compared himself to Mangione and was fueled by anti-capitalist views.
There is an extremely disturbing trend where people are resorting to violence to communicate political messages or economic messages. I don't know if this guy saw himself as a Luigi, but he's an arsonist. He's a criminal.
Both Rinderknecht and Abdul Karim have pleaded not guilty and are currently awaiting trial. Tom?
Okay, Steve. When we return tonight, country legend Dolly Parton reveals why she's canceling her shows in Las Vegas. That's next.
I can't lose.
Back now with a violent scene out of Germany. Authorities in Leipzig say 2 people were killed and 2 others were severely injured after a white SUV slammed into a crowd. Police arrested a German citizen but say they're still investigating a motive. It is the 4th such incident in Germany in just the last 2 years. Also tonight, back here at home, country legend Dolly Parton canceling her Las Vegas residency. She said she's responding well to treatment for an unspecified condition, but said she still needs some time to recover in her signature style. Take a listen.
Some of the meds and treatments make me a little bit swimmy-headed, as my grandma used to say. And, of course, I can't be dizzy carrying around banjos, guitars, and such on 5-inch heels.
The good news tonight, though, Parton says her doctors tell her everything she has is treatable. When we come back, the surprise reunion nearly a year in the making. A military father showing up at his son's school in disguise. That's next. Finally, there's good news tonight. A military father overseas for almost a year found a way to surprise his son at school, putting an unforgettable twist on a very happy homecoming.
Does anybody know anyone in this classroom that has family in the military? Lincoln!
Second grader Lincoln Wemmer hasn't seen his dad in 11 months. Ethan Wemmer is a staff sergeant in the Army who's been serving overseas in the Middle East.
We have a special video for Lincoln from his dad.
Recently, he sent this video message to his son.
Lincoln, I'm so proud of you. I know it's been hard with me away.
All of Lincoln's classmates, teachers, and even the school's mascot, Gilly, gathered around him. But what Lincoln doesn't know, his dad is closer than he realizes, secretly standing next to him right there, dressed as the school's mascot.
He's grown so much in those 11 months.
In recognition of your strength, perseverance, and positive spirits.
Then, the big reveal and this incredible moment. Lincoln jumping into his dad's arms for a hug he never wanted to end. A homecoming surprise this father and son will remember forever.
He's a great dad. He's doing this all for me.
I'm so excited to be home. This was a long time coming, 11 months, so it feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Our gratitude to Staff Sergeant Wemmer for his service and to his families. And thanks to our affiliate, WMTV, for bringing us that story. That's Nightly News for this Monday. I'm Tom Llamas. Thanks so much for watching. Tonight, and always, we're here for you. Good night. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.